Good evening, everybody. Just kidding. All right. Welcome to, how many meetings do we have today? We have just the one. Oh, great. Welcome to our monthly council meeting here at City of Summerside for January 15th, 2024. I will begin the meeting by calling the meeting to order here at 6:31 p.m. And I'll begin by calling for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Adams, second. Councillor Morrison, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, changes, variations? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the agenda as it's presented. Welcome residents who are here with us today, those who are joining us online, members of the media, and of course, welcome back, Junior Mayor and Council. And Morgan, happy to have you back and the whole crew. So we're looking forward to hearing from you, Mayor Sparks, or they might call you Mayor Hunter. It's what they call me, Mayor Dan. So we'll look forward to that a little bit later. We begin each one of our meetings with a land acknowledgement where we acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Abogway is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who occupied this island for 12,000 years past, present, and future. At this time, I'd ask any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to anything on the agenda for this evening. Hearing none, we will continue to move on. We begin by approving a series of meeting minutes. I am going to try and group them because I'm trying to save time with all of these. So I'm going to begin with the two planning boards. So with respect to the meeting minutes of December 18th, 2023 of Planning Board and the January 9th, 2024 Planning Board meetings, I would call for a motion from a member of Planning Board for approval of the minutes attached in your agenda. Councillor Snow, second. Councillor Morrison. All members of Planning Board, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? So we will carry those two sets of minutes. And all the other ones. So I will put on the December 18th, 2023 council in-camera meeting, the December 18th, 2023 monthly council meeting, the January 9, 2024 Committee of the Whole of Council meeting, and the January 9 special council meeting. I would call for a motion mover for approval of the minutes as presented. Councillor McDougall, second. Councillor Gallant. All in favor of the minutes as presented, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All of our minutes are carried. This is the opportunity for any member of council to mention any accolades or recognitions that they may want to share with the community from the past. It hasn't been very long since we've been here. I think we were here 6 days ago. Councillor Gallant.
I just want to make mention that I attended the annual meeting this afternoon at Parkview. And here is your new slate of officers. President is Bev McKay. Vice President is Susan Harris. Secretary is Rena Goody. Treasurer is Dorothy Griffin-Farish. Directors are Aubin Gallant, Barb Darash, Paula R. Snow, and Giselle Martin.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant, and congratulations to the new Board of Parkview Seniors Club. Any other members of council? Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the fun stuff, and we're going to begin with, we have public presentations, petitions, and delegations. We're going to begin with Junior Mayor Hunter Sparks presenting the report from Junior Mayor and Council, and we have all of Junior Council here as well. So for members of the public, Junior Mayor and Council is an annual initiative that happens here at the City of Summerside. The students are elected through an election at Summerside Intermediate School, and they all get up and give speeches, and a few of us were there this year, and they all did a fantastic job. After the election, Junior Mayor and Council come and get sworn in here, and then do tours around the city and learn about some of the ins and outs of how the city works. Then they go away and come back with reports to Council about some of their thoughts and directions. And Hunter, I saw your speech, and so I'm always curious to see if, after you've been through it, if all the things that you said at the beginning are the same things you guys want to be saying now. So with that, I'm going to step down, and Junior Mayor Sparks is going to come up and provide his report. Come on up.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council, and members of the public. My name is Hunter Sparks, and in November, I was sworn in as junior mayor of the Summerside. My council members and I are honored to represent Summerside Intermediate School and be a voice for the youth of this community. Thank you very much for this opportunity to get young people more involved in politics. Over the past couple months, we've been able to see the work and complexity in the city, and we are very lucky to be a part of it. It was pretty eye-opening to see the amount of people it takes to keep the city running on the tour. After a couple months, some Christmas presents, and a lot of food, we do have a few suggestions. During the tour, I kept thinking about how cool the city jobs were. I particularly liked the water treatment center because it was really cool to see at every little pool the water cleanliness change. I found them all uniquely interesting. So we were thinking how neat it would be to give these opportunities to other young people too. In my boy Lawrence's report, he said that one thing he would change about Summerside would be to show people more of how Summerside works. From what he and other junior counselors learned, some departments are facing recruitment issues. Showing people more about what these people do and how cool the positions are could boost recruitment. This could look like hosting open house events at some of the facilities, or putting out short videos on social media that highlight the inner workings of the city. We would also like to have student prices at certain stores in Summerside. We believe that if students bring their student IDs, they should be able to get student prices, but only if they bring their student IDs. We think this should only happen in certain stores because some stores already have good prices. And if they had student prices, it would be bad for business. Our last idea is to have more hangout spots for your young people in Summerside. In the junior counselor reports, this was the second most talked about thing, and we think it should happen. A place where all different types of people can hang out. We have a lot of things for sports in Summerside, and I appreciate this a lot, but not every student in Summerside plays sports. So what we were thinking is a place that has a bunch of different types of things to keep students entertained. In closing, we would like to thank Mr. Sears for organizing junior mayor and council. It is a very big job, and you have a lot of responsibilities with your new baby at home. Thank you to Mayor Kutcher and council for welcoming us and for listening to our ideas. I know that we are all thinking the same thing, and this whole thing is super cool. We hope you put our ideas into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Junior Mayor Hunter and all of the junior counselors here today. At this point, I'll open it up to council to provide any concluding thoughts on the process and some of the recommendations.
Thank you, Your Worship. I didn't get to attend the swearing-in ceremony, and I think that's probably one of the first ones I missed in a long time. And I'm really a big supporter of this program, and just want to thank the SIS staff and the City of Summerside for keeping this alive and promoting it. It's a great program for the young folks, and I know my wife works in at the school a little bit, and she was there when they were doing the voting, and she said it was pretty interesting. So also I had something else I was going to say, but I just slipped my mind. What was it? You know? No, but anyway, we listened to your speech, and I will, like all the rest of the council, will note your suggestions, and we thank you for your input, and hope you had a great day. Thanks.
Councillor Stowe?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just quickly, I just want to first thank SIS for continuing this. It's a great program that they run. I really like the fact that we're doing it earlier this year than we normally do. I think Mayor Kutcher had brought that forward. I think it's a great idea, so then we can actually hopefully have some future feedback and meetings discuss what's going on. I really like the idea of showing how Summerside works. So strangely enough, there was a post today I seen on Summerside Facebook page of one of our ice technicians doing the Zamboni and that sort of stuff. And I thought, what a great idea, just seeing how the city works. And when I grow up and become old, I want to be an ice technician. So that's a fact, I do. But I just think that's a great idea, and the effort and work you guys put into it is obvious. So thank you for your work.
We'll do Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you guys for your interest in the whole process, and Mr. Sears for keeping it going. I know it's a lot of work. You make it look easy, but organizing everybody, I'm sure, is a task. Like Councillor Snow mentioned, the video on Emily today, the ice maker, was pretty neat and timely. So I don't know if you leaked your speech to anybody or not, but they got that out just in time. And I'm not sure JP's looking for a bunch of retired people, but my husband said the same thing. He wants to drive the Zamboni when he retires. So, and I don't think that's the way JP's trending, but it's a pretty cool place to work. The city, until you get right in there, you don't realize like all it takes to keep it going. So it'll be nice now for you guys, since we did it earlier, to follow through your school year and just, keep an eye on everything we're doing and everything we're not doing, and feel free to drop us a line and let us know. Okay?
Councillor Duran.
I don't know if we're able to bring the hammer down on local business prices, but we can advocate for that, I guess. We won't ask what places you think don't have the good prices. The idea that you had about open houses, I think, was fantastic and also realistic. I think that's something, whether or not the city is actively recruiting at any given time, I don't even know if that's relevant, because that's a really good idea to hold those types of things several times a year, just for the sake of having them, just to get people interested and aware of how we do things. So that was a great idea. And to Mr. Sears, Mr. Doyle, just thank you both for keeping the program and the interest in it alive for so many years. And thanks to the junior counselors for being interested and following through, and congratulations on your elections and being members of the program. And yeah, just thanks everybody and congratulations. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and glad if you did.
Councillor McColeman.
I was just looking to see if there was anyone. I just want to thank Junior Mayor and Council and Mr. Sears for the effort that you made to be here and take part in the whole procedure. I think that the ideas that you have presented are really good. One of the things that I think we would be interested in, they're all very interesting, but when you mentioned more activities for youth, other than sports are good, but there could be other things, I think that would be really something. And I think our community is the size that one of the things that I've heard quite often from people of different ages is that they would love to see some activities with youth and maybe seniors or people of all ages, or some kind of a community thing that way, because we can all learn from one another. And I think that you folks really have a lot of good insight, and it would be a great community unity to bring all of those generations together. So don't be shy to give us your ideas, and thank you so much. We appreciate it, getting to know and meet you. Thanks.
Councillor Gallant.
I want to congratulate Mr. Sears and Mayor and Council. Your comment on the water treatment plant, when I first joined Council, Municipal Works is actually one of my portfolios, and that was my first tour, and I was pretty amazed. It went from clear to brown within seconds, which is pretty awesome. And just another note, tomorrow we are actually turning on the Sunbank project. So that's going to be pretty cool as well. So congratulations.
Thank you, councillors. And just to wrap it up, as Deputy Mayor Snow mentioned, we changed the dates around this year, and the hope was that we would be able to create enough time for now council to get together and talk about the recommendations that you provided, and then possibly ask you some more questions and flush those out a little bit and see if there are any things that we can develop. So the hope is to try and, again, to generate your ideas and find out how we can make those fit and what we might be able to make work, so that there are things that maybe down the road you can point to and say, hey, I was part of that, and that is where it started, and you can really see the positive impacts that can come from government and from public service. So thank you all. Obviously, thank you, Morgan and Doug, for the continued work with the program, and good luck to all of you with the rest of the school year. You're not halfway yet, but you're getting there. So thanks, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Yeah, you don't have to stay. That's the we do. So
Your term isn't over yet.
that's true. Great, so now we'll move on to second presentation here for this evening. We're joined by Janice Harper, who's going to speak to council about the forested land project, and I have a little bit of an intro here, Janice, if you don't mind me just reading what they provided. Janice is a registered professional planner, is sponsored by a Federation of PEI municipalities on a project to support urban forestry. The Forested Land Priority Place project is seeking partner municipalities who may be updating official plans and bylaws, which we are in the process of beginning. The goal of this proposed forested land project is to promote dedicated space for habitat and ecosystem services within municipalities, and to strengthen the approach to securing forested lands. Natural areas such as forests may not be considered as valuable park space. This project would seek to update city's official plan subdivision bylaw with clear language, and to work with staff to ensure that interdepartmental review processes surrounding dedication of land for public space would consider more forested and natural areas going forward. If council agrees to participate when updates to the official plan and zoning and development bylaws are being drafted, we'd ask, this is coming from Janice's group, would ask that city staff contact FPIM to participate in the project. So what we'll do this evening, and this came about from a presentation that Janice provided to myself and to Trent Williams at the city. Following the presentation, we thought this would be given the connection to FPIM and where we are with respect to our official plan and zoning bylaws that we are beginning to review. We thought this may be a good fit, and so what we wanted to do is invite Janice here to update council on the project. And then I think, Janice, what we'll do at the end here today is that then we'll sort of, council will take away, digest, think, discuss it, and then we'll see what kind of steps happen after that.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to you, and I think Brian showed you how to push the button to make the pictures
let's
move.
see. There we go. Okay, it works. No one said planning was the most interesting part of running a city office. We all know how interesting planning can get. So urban forests are valuable spaces. So today I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about how we think about parks and how we think about forests, and can the two come together. So let's see, urban forests are valuable spaces. So the title of this presentation is actually Habitat Conservation at the Municipal Level. And the PEI Forested Land Priority Place Initiative's vision statement states that species at risk are thriving in diverse and connected forest ecosystems that are cared for and conserved by islanders. So the issue, what's the issue? The issue is we're losing habitat. With development, increased development, we're losing habitat for especially species at risk. And we tend to not necessarily think that municipalities or urban municipalities have spaces where species at risk might thrive, but they do. PEI is still a very natural place, and it's a goal of this project to create spaces where forests can thrive and where the species, plants and animals that live in forests, could survive as well, or thrive. So this initiative is federally funded through Environment and Climate Change Canada. Provincially, it's supported through the Department of, or Division of Forest, Fish and Wildlife. They provide mapping service and subject matter expertise. It's locally supported through FPEIM, who is the sponsor. And our goal, essentially, is to update official plans and bylaws to enable and develop protected areas or urban forestry plans. And I asked the question, how can this city promote urban forests? The city essentially can develop forests in park spaces. These forests can then serve as habitat, as stated, and as land is subdivided, we all know the process of subdivision. There's often a question, can the municipality take a certain percentage of that land to be subdivided and turn it into park space? And typically, we tend to think of park space as a place for swing sets, ball fields, soccer fields, maybe a trail, but we don't, in the past, we haven't really extended that to consider our forests, or is land that could be forested land a potential park space. And maybe 20 years ago, when I started planning, if a piece of land looked like it might not be able to be easy to take care of, in that if it had to be mowed, or if it looked like it was just going to be a natural area, municipalities I worked for would turn down that land. They would say, oh, we don't want that. That's not really useful to us. If it's not going to attract, if it's not going to be a place where we could put a swing set or a gathering place for students or kids, we don't want it. And really the point of this discussion is to ask council to maybe take a look and consider, is there potential for forested space in that land that's going to be part of the land acquisition through subdivision? Or could it be habitat? So just to ask more questions. I have a number of biologists working on this program, and they helped me put together a couple of slides about how forests are very diverse habitats on PEI. Just some details. I'm not a biologist, but over 60 migratory bird species arrive on PEI each year. We have many amphibians, reptiles, who all need a place to live, and lots of places to live. Municipalities can identify and designate park spaces. As anybody who's ever served on a parks board or a planning board is well aware, we look at park spaces as the process of subdivision happens, but we don't tend to look at that park space as potential habitats. So it's within the authority of the municipality to do that. It's within the role, but it's not something we've typically looked at until recently. Part of the process would be, let's see, to look at official plan options. The official plan, of course, has a future land use map. So the future map might identify maybe a fragmented area or connections between fragmented areas, or future extensions of existing known habitat areas. The official plan can set policies such as a park policy or a buffer and hedge policy or a natural area conservation policy, which kind of sets a vision or a direction for council. And then in subdivision design, the bylaw can outline how subdivision design could happen and various processes that could be looked at as land was being subdivided. I have a list here of just some ways that parks have been used. The typical ones like ball fields, playgrounds, and at the bottom I've put in urban forest and habitat areas, because this is the way we're hoping to look at parks more holistically in the future. I just wanted to note that there are many partners interested in conservation and in ecosystem services. Of course, the federal government is funding this project. The provincial government has a division that's supporting this project. Of course, we want to partner with municipalities. This project also works with the PEI Watershed Association and local watershed groups, including BEMA. that's Summerside is BEMA. Nature Conservancy of Canada, the Island Nature Trust are involved with this project. Of course, Federation of PEI Municipalities is the sponsor of this project, and there are other organizations, and sometimes even private landowners are interested in expanding park space, and they take initiatives as well. So there are many, many interested people in these kinds of initiatives and partners. And just as a very last slide, this one, the map is very small, but PEI is one of 11 priority places in Canada. And when I first heard this, I thought, oh, one in every province or so, but actually not. PEI is an island, and we are a unique ecosystem here, and the federal government has deemed PEI, all of PEI, as one of only 11 priority places in Canada. So there's a lot of interest in what could happen on PEI and in potential for creating space for forests and ecosystem services as time goes on. So that's the end of my presentation. I apologize if I spoke too quickly, but we have lots of time to questions.
Thanks, Janice, for the presentation. I'm curious, if when you were finishing there, you mentioned that PEI is a priority place.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that there's lots of funding coming from the federal government in order for us to, and I mean that seriously.
No,
because
yeah.
it's a priority, then
Yeah.
is there
I am
things that
not
come along with
volunteering. I am not volunteering. I'm paid. I'm paid quite well to do this.
Yeah.
To do this project.
Yeah.
And it actually is identifying a gap. So the project identified a gap, which was parkland is dedicated in municipalities, but municipalities do not tend to dedicate space for ecosystem services or for natural area habitat. And the gap that was identified was that parkland can be used for natural area, natural areas can be parkland. So that's the gap. So there is money, and the project is going on for, I think, until 2024. So there could be phase 2. And the idea, what we're looking for are partner municipalities, so municipalities who are interested in partnering in this project to take a look at their processes and official plan bylaw documents. And phase 2 would be more funding. Not for a staff person. It's not a huge project, but resources.
Yeah, I know currently Trent and his crew, JP staff, we do have a city forestry plan, and there's some tree planting going on, but I truly believe you can never do enough, especially around parks and playgrounds and so on. So, no, thank you for your presentation, and hopefully we can find a way to partner and move forward.
See?
Good. Yes, thank you, Janice, for that presentation, and we have a copy of that, I believe, so council can get a copy of it. One of the things you were mentioned about the rezoning and stuff like that, where they give 10% of the land, and I know we've done that a lot of times, but this year brings another dynamic to it, because I know it's pretty easy to say we'll take cash in lieu of, but they're not making land anymore, right? And so we need to really look at that issue. And yeah, we have sufficient parks in the city right now, but there's also, areas where for habitat that we can leave as natural areas too, right? So, no, I appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for the presentation. I thought it was great. I try my best to do some fundraising every year with the South Shore Watershed Association, so I think that keeping ecosystems is a perfect thing to talk about right now. My question is, if we are designating things as ecosystem natural habitat, is it still openly available to residents to go to and utilize, or is it more keeping that separate from residents so that we preserve the ecosystem? That's
a really good question. And as a planner, like my focus as a planner is to gain space. And I had I actually asked a version of that question to the biologists. I said, if we're gaining space, is this space useful, can this space be used? And they said, in fact, they look at trails as a perfect unity, trails as an example, a perfect example of creating a natural area where humans have access.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, but I asked the same question. Yeah.
I guess as a follow-up, and maybe you can't answer this because you're not a biologist, but does having like human activity in these areas deter wildlife from coming to create a habitat there, or no?
So I can't really, to great detail. I don't think we're talking about. We are talking about species at risk, but I think my understanding is that as long as it's a scale where people are walking, or maybe cycling, but not introducing motorized vehicles because any place on PEI. You could encounter someone who's walking or potentially cycling or snowshoeing, but not introducing motorized vehicles.
Perfect, thank you.
Janice, just wanted to thank you for the great presentation and the information. I guess one of the questions that I have, when you mentioned that Prince Edward Island is one of 11 priority places, is there any specific reason other than the size of our province, but maybe because of our coastline? What would be some of the main reasons?
It's the scale of development. So we are actually, as part of this project, producing a much larger slideshow, and the intent is that larger slideshow, which would be about 50%, 50% of the larger slideshow would be information of interest to biologists or scientists. But one of the issues that was identified was the level of development on Prince Edward Island. So the development is a risk to habitat. So an easy example would be on the coastline. If we have a lot of development along the coast, that would be if the bank swallows, if the habitat of bank swallows, if someone was developing right up to the coast, that could potentially impact the habitat of bank swallows. So that's an example of, development really directly impacts the habitat, and are there ways we can look at how land is developed so that we can be looking at where is the habitat and what can we do to preserve that habitat.
Right.
So for example, with the bank swallows, because they live at the top of these high banks, if we have a buffer or an extended buffer, then there's less development really close to where they're nesting.
So organizations like Ducks Unlimited, like when they preserve marshlands,
Yes.
things like that, that would all fit into the criteria that you folks
Well, I
look at?
hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point. Yeah, because Ducks Unlimited do often look at habitat and developing wetlands and habitat. Yeah, they're not a direct partner for this project, but yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just thinking, years ago in school, we were, I think we still are referred to as the Million Acre Farm and the Garden Province. So it kind of ties in with what you're saying, the importance of our land and the forests and things like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice, and also thank you for the work. Janice was one of the who supported the city with the Housing Accelerator Fund as well, so you did some work for us there. So thank you for that as well. And thank you for your presentation today. We are in the process of doing a policy review with respect to parkland dedication. We are in the process of revising our official plan and our zoning bylaws, so this is very timely, and we certainly have like I said, it is very timely and relevant. So thank you for your presentation. I have one quick question. And just I have a proposed draft resolution here, and I'm going to suggest maybe to council that we discuss this further at a committee of the whole and talk about what we want to, if we want to, how we want to pursue this, or not, and see how it fits within some of the other pieces of the puzzle that we have on the table right now. But the question I have here, so that I have a draft resolution where the council supports participation in a pilot project with FPIM to explore updating OP and subdivision bylaw to enable and develop parkland protected areas and/or urban forestry plans. And I know that's pretty broad, and but my question is, what on the project, what is needed from us? What do you need from?
At this point, we are not looking for an outcome. We are simply looking for interested partners who would be interested in looking at municipal processes and/or language in the official plan and bylaw. And really, the language, it's looking at language to expand the use of public open space to include natural areas or conservation areas. So it's it's just expanding the concept of parkland and looking at the processes. And we found that municipalities often are, they focus on parkland as a program space, like a ball field, and not necessarily, as stated in the slideshow, a natural area space. So that's it. Just we're looking for partners who are interested in participating. No outcome is. No outcome. Like the outcome is whatever the outcome is.
Great. Well, so if council's open to having this come on at committee of the whole to discuss the proposed resolution, and then, I'm not going to speak for council, obviously, but it seemed pretty positive. So I think that's in February. So we'll and then we'll ask staff to loop back with you following the decision on that space, and hopefully we'll partner, but if we don't, we wish you the best of luck as well. So thank you for taking the time and your presentation and the work that you're doing to protect species at risk and ecosystems here in our province and in our city. So thank you.
It's fun. It's a fun project. It's fun for
great.
everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Janice.
All right. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Close this down. There we go.
So we'll just keep moving right along here too, folks. Appointment to committees. There's no committee appointments tonight, which moves us on to item 6. We have introduction and reading of bylaws and resolutions, of which we have a few. The first one is coming out of Planning Act, item A, and so this one I'll hand it over to Councillor Duran.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I guess I will just begin by, first of all, just reading the resolution that's before us, and then obviously the floor will be open to council, and we can discuss if need be and go from there. So, Resolution COS 24-004, whereas an application was received from the Department of Land, Housing and Communities for restricted use for PID number 1030303 to allow an emergency housing shelter at 25 Frank Mellish Street in the institutional I zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas in accordance with section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, council shall consider the following general criteria as applicable: conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, conformity with the official plan, suitability of the site for the proposed development, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses, any comments from residents or other interested persons, adequacy of existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements, impacts from the development on pedestrian or vehicular access and safety and on public safety generally, compatibility of the development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources, impacts on city finances and budgets, other matters as specified in this bylaw and other matters as considered relevant. Be it resolved that council approve a restricted use for emergency housing shelter at 25 Frank Mellish Street, PID number 1030303 in the institutional I zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, subject to the following conditions. 1, staff approval of site plan. 2, council approval of the operational and staffing model following presentation by the operator. And 3, council approval of safety plan with input from police services. This bears the recommendation of the planning board meeting of January 9th, 2024. So before, I guess, the floor is open to council, if it's okay with Your Worship, I'd like to speak, or you can.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we would have someone, is it moved or seconded, so we get the resolution on the floor?
Yeah.
It should be moved and
Moved by myself
seconded.
and seconded by whoever would like to second it. Counselor, yeah, sorry, it was seconded by Counselor Glant
Okay, so,
originally, yeah.
resolution COS 24-004, moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Councillor Gallant, is now on the floor, so I'll open the floor for discussion with council. I'd also just have a quick note that as this is an application for a restricted use, council obviously has the opportunity has a lot more flexibility with respect to conditions that they may wish or not wish to put on the application. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Councillor Duran.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, before, I'd just like to say that I am in support of the resolution, given the conditions that are attached to it. I'm sort of disappointed that there hasn't been any movement on this issue up until now, and that there really hasn't been any, or there isn't any plans to have this in place, from what I understand, prior to March, April, which is, prior to the winter conditions. So I'm glad that the province is taking action after we've asked for this for so long. But to not have plans for a shelter in place before the spring is, I think, unfortunate and quite possibly dangerous, heading into what's already a pretty frigid winter season. Like I said, there are conditions attached to this resolution that I believe satisfies a lot of what some of the hesitance has been, and I hope council recognizes that. I've always been, since this issue kind of started coming up with council, I consider myself to be somebody that has been a supporter of doing everything and anything that we can do as a municipality. So much so, in one case, I had to declare a conflict of interest because I preached my support a little too early. So that was for the Winter Street shelter. So I guess with that said, I look forward to hearing what everyone else has to say and what they think, and hopefully moving forward on this. I think the eyes are on the province to see how this will operate, but the eyes are on us to see if we will allow it to operate. So I think the conditions attached, like I said, are realistic without being too restrictive, and I just wish we were having this meeting 6 months ago. So, yeah.
Councillor Snow?
Thank you, Your Worship. Similar to Justin's comments, I had the feeling or thought after hearing council speak over, well, which would have started last year when we were asking, like Justin said, asking the province to, find us some more shelters. We went through the Winter Street stuff. And now we're here with this in front of us. I'm extremely disappointed that there's no approval, site plan, nothing that accompanies it. Strictly for the reason when I asked Linda the other night, one of our staff people that was presenting, when is this projected to open? Her response was April. I've yet to hear anything in the contrary. So we're sitting here tonight with the eyes of the community on us saying, you know what, you should approve that or don't approve that, without having the information needed to, in my opinion, to make an informed decision. That's what it's all about. There is zero doubt in my mind that we need a shelter, and we needed it weeks and months ago. There was a little bit of media coverage. There was not one mention of it waiting until April to open a shelter, which in my mind makes absolutely zero sense when you're going through January, February, and March. So April, it's not funny, but once you get to April, you start looking to go out camping and going to do stuff that out in the weather that's nice. Now you're looking to find shelter, you're looking to stay inside. So the province to come and say, you know what, we really need you to do this now. It went from a planning board last week to a meeting the very next week. My understanding, and Gordon, you can correct me again if I'm wrong, January 19th, I believe they're meeting with the proposed operators. They're gonna come up with their operational plan. That's information that would be very, very valuable to us and the community as we're planning to move forward with the location, with the operations of this. I don't think one councillor in here does not want to see a shelter move forward. I want to see it move forward with the proper procedures in place. I also struggle with the comments in the provincial plan saying a not-for-profit organization is going to be able to run it better than the province when they don't know who that operator is yet. So they either know who the operator is and they're not sharing that information with us, which I don't think is the case, but to have that statement out there without knowing for sure who the operator is, I think is a little misleading as well. I would like us personally to table this for a week or two. I don't think, and Gordon, please correct me if I'm wrong, because if we are delaying this in any manner, I don't want to delay shelter for people. But if the plan is to open in April, which is the information I'm getting, I don't think there's any rush for us to make a decision, get those people that have concerns about it, or those people that are in favor of it, you know, starting to form opinions and pushing back on us. I think the province owes it to the residents of the city of Summerside, owes it to those that are in need to come to the city with an actual plan that they feel is going to work, that council can get behind, and the residents can get behind. I propose we table this resolution until the province comes back with the information we're already asking, that we're going to have to meet on again before we actually approve it. So it makes zero sense for us to approve it and then meet again to approve it. So I just want the information out there for the public so they can provide me with feedback. I've had lots of calls and lots of comments since last week's meeting about, you know, you need to approve that or don't approve that or whatever. So everybody has an opinion on it, but there's a bunch of information that we do not have at this time, and I would really like to have that prior to making a decision.
Councillor Gallant?
As the councillor of this ward, safety has to be top priority. I'm hearing that loud and clear. So restrictions have to be in place, as in staff approval of the site plan, security with input from police services, operational and staff modeling, working with addiction services, social services, and mental health to have day programs for the people who are attending, to help them transition back into the community. Summerside has great people, great organizations, but finding solutions takes time, patience, and willingness by everyone in the community to work together in a respectful, positive way to bring positive change and being humble and kind along the way. So I agree with my counterparts, but I'm going to tell you, within the next couple of weeks, we're going to get minus 32-degree weather. You don't want people outside.
Councillor McDougall?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm a little disappointed that this is on the agenda here for this evening. You know, when we had our meeting last week, there was a number of questions asked, and I was under the understanding that this was probably going to come back in our February meeting, which was going to give us lots of time to get the answers. These conditions are basically asking the questions that some of the questions that we had were concerned about. And I agreed with a lot of what Deputy Mayor Snow has said there. But I know that a lot of the people that were here last week understood that the meeting was going to be in February, and that's probably why there's a smaller showing here this evening. So you know, we all know what we need, but I need to, like I said last week, I need to know about the security issues. I know it's going to be open from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., but we need 24-hour security around something like that. That hasn't been answered, and we don't even know who the security company is. But anyway, I will second the motion to table it.
Councillor Cameron? After you table it. Okay, we're going to the rules here, so we have I can check mine as well. So yeah, Council, and I think you're right. If I remember, we went through it, not off the top of my head, and I don't have my Robert's Rules of Order, but Councillor McDougall and Councillor Snow have put forward a motion to end the discussion here this evening with a motion to table the discussion to the next meeting. At this point, I call for a vote on the motion as proposed, I believe. To table the motion to table. Okay, so there is a motion to table the discussion to our next meeting. All in council in favor, please indicate by saying aye. And that's 3. All opposed? And Councillor Adams? Aye? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Then I guess it comes to me. And I think that, yeah, and I will vote with the nays. There are still councillors willing to talk. With that, I have Councillor Cameron was next.
Thank you. Sorry, I shut off when we were on a vote. I just want to start by sharing my disappointment that everyone else is feeling that we should have more information on this. I don't think that it shows a huge amount of respect from the province to our residents, to us, to any of the unhomed people in our community. I also want to echo the concerns that we've had, that everyone else has stated. I think that we do need more information on security. We need more information on site planning. We need all the information that we should have to make an informed decision going forward. However, if we can put restrictions in place now, it still keeps everything moving at an okay pace. Like Councillor Snow has said, we are still gonna have to vote on it again, but tonight we can put in restrictions to say, we are gonna keep this moving forward, but we want X, Y, Z from you. And if they're not willing to do that, then they're not meeting our restrictions that we want. I think that either way, it doesn't really make much of a difference if we table it and don't vote on it tonight. It's still gonna have to get voted on later, but later we might still have restrictions we wanna put in place, and then that's gonna be a whole other meeting that we have to go through. So to me, it just makes more sense to put restrictions in now and continue to move forward, and if they don't meet those restrictions, then we don't continue. And I guess one of my questions on restrictions, and it goes to Councillor McDougall, like, can we put a restriction that they must have 24-hour security there? Could we just start with something like that? Is there any restrictions on restrictions?
Yeah, council's able to put any restrictions they want, or they could do it through if council did move forward with conditions at this point, in order to, council could say, look, if we're not going to approve an operational plan unless it has X, Y, and Z. So it is, again, we're in a very flexible space here. We don't usually get this opportunity at council, really, to be honest.
So that is something like we could just, if that's a concern that residents are having, is the security around the facility, right off the bat, we could just put in the restriction for 24-hour security. I don't know why we wouldn't do that if that is the biggest concern we're hearing right now is for the residents who live in that area and the people who work at Somerset Manor. Why wouldn't we just start off with, sure, we all want it there. We've all already said that. That is something that we are very into having in that location, but we want 24-hour security. That's my suggestion as a starting point.
And just as we continue our discussion here, Councillor Cameron, I'm going to maybe just park that discussion point for a second and let Councillor McColman speak and any other councillor, and then we'll come back, potentially come back to that as well. Does that make sense? Councillor McColman?
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I think pretty well all of the councillors, we have given that general comment to our residents and to the community that we're certainly not against this process or the application, but I as well as other council members. To me, if it is a partnership is working together, the lines of communication, the information, everybody knows the same pieces at the same time. And I believe that while it meets all of the land process that we've gone through, the questions that we do have, leave it in a situation where we can't give very clear certain answers to our residents who may be living there, the partnership organizations who may very well be staffing and providing security to it, as well as our residents that live and work in that area. So for me, it's more of a thing. I look at it, if you enter into a mortgage, you have all of the terms, the conditions, all of the details in advance. You know what you're entering into. And I feel that as I've said in the last meeting, the responsibility, the burden of responsibility is on council, and we want to make sure that we do it right with the partnerships and know all of the pieces. So that's where I'm at on it, and I hope we will get that information so we can continue to move it forward. Thank you.
Councillor Morrison?
Yeah, I just want to comment on it, on the resolution. To me, it's more about just continuing with those restrictions that are in place on the bottom of the page, and any that we may have to add. I feel comfortable enough in moving this forward, at least on the land part of it, to make it look like, I mean, we're all in favor of getting this shelter built as quickly as possible. And I know any decisions we make now aren't going to have any effect on the winter probably this year, but I just want to make it, in my mind, make it appear that we continue to move forward with getting it done, and not hold it up in any way, shape, or form. So, like I say, with the stipulations that are at the bottom there, I think going forward, it can still be done, because we could stop it at any time if they don't meet any of that criteria.
Councillor Adams?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess anybody that's been paying attention, we did have the province here for a standing committee on housing in the fall. And I think it was very clear then to the province and anybody in attendance that we were willing to do what we could as a city to help them move this process along. After that, I felt that we were thrown under the bus whenever the comment was made by the province that a homeowner wouldn't sell a property, and they were very NIMBY about it. That wasn't the case. It was the same as this. There was no plan in place for what the province was going to do when they bought that property from that landowner. So I guess in my mind, enough is enough. This is on the province. The city has been ready, willing for more than a year. Former Minister McKay was, tell me where we can put these, the mobiles, I'll have them here in a few weeks. Like, I guess, where did that all fall apart if they were so ready to do it? The current minister has literally had the city begging, and I don't think that's acceptable. And I just don't know what more we can do. It's been over a year. This should be open. This should have been running in the fall. And we've been really let down. And when I say we, I mean, as a city, everybody has been let down, because as a city, we came to them and we said, we're all ready. Let's do this. And we even said at the standing committee, just tell us what it takes. But it fell on deaf ears. There was crickets. There was nothing. So that's what's really upsetting about this, is that you have so many people that care and that are willing to help and want to make things better, and it just keeps getting stalled.
Just to close up my comments, I 100% agree with what Carrie just said. And unfortunately, Rick, with what Rick is saying, he said, you know, we don't want to stop it, or we don't want to be holding it up. We don't want to be seen as that. And again, I'll ask our CAO, if we don't vote tonight, are we any way holding up this project other than to say that us as a city are behind it? Because again, we were told April as a time frame. don't like the fact that now we are gonna be the ones holding this up, per se, when we're not holding it up. The province is not ready to move on this till April. So asking for information prior to making a decision, I think is very reasonable. I'll tell you right now, if they were here saying, and nobody's here, ironically, but if they were here right now saying, you know what, we're gonna have those shelters in place in 2 weeks' time, or we have a place down the street that we need rezoned in 2 weeks' time, I would be more than willing to vote on it, to make a decision, even with lack of information. But the fact that we have time to make a decision and make an informed decision, I think, other than we're concerned that the media will say the province or the city is holding it up, which is not factual based on the information I have. So, Gordon, could you please let me know if by any way we're holding this up?
A couple things. One, I can't speak for the province. I can't, I don't know for sure exactly what stage they're in terms of readiness. In conversations with provincial staff, I know that they are, there is a little bit of a chicken and an egg going on. The application is for, to council and to the city is a land use question. So they are hoping to get the land use approved for sure. Understanding that the proposed restrictions that are in the resolution right now are more operational kind of questions. So in terms of if council is to approve this resolution, I think you are approving the land use question while also reserving your ability to.
Can we please stop using the land use? It's a restricted use application, not a land use. We're not rezoning it. So it just happens shelters do not fall, unfortunately, under a zoning that we currently have. It is a restricted use based on the current zoning. So it's already zoned appropriately if we decide that restricted use fits. So if they want to go in there and start doing site prep work, do whatever, they can do some of that. I don't think I honestly, and I mean this, if I thought for 1 second I was holding anything up on this, I would not be. I think the province is putting us into a position that we can see it around here. Staff are pretty divided on what we're deciding to do. And I think that is very unfortunate that they would put us into that position when they very well should have the information to come forward to the city with an application such as this, knowing everything going on in the province. I strongly feel the fact that we, again, the person that looked at the application presented the other night, the province was in the back row, you offered them to provide some clarification, not one of them stood up. So now to not be here tonight, I think that's inappropriate on their behalf.
Okay, I will cycle back, as I said, to Councillor Cameron's discussion that we parked with respect to, just kind of council want to have any further discussion with respect to potential 24-hour security conditions.
I think if it comes to that, I think that condition number 2, council approval of the operational staffing model, I think that sort of covers any concerns that we would have or demands that we would have for 24-hour security. I think that item I think it would fall under that. I don't think there's a need to add a 4th condition. I think the security would fall under that. If I'm wrong, by all means, correct me, but I think operational and staffing model, I think part of the operational model would be whether or not there's security, so I think it would probably fall under there. Or a safety plan, yeah, I think one of those items already covers the need for security, whether it's 24 hours or not.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Councillor McDougall and then come to you, Councillor Cameron.
I believe I mentioned that last meeting, I know I mentioned it to our CAO, that during the meeting, it was talked about 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. there was going to be security. My issue was that needs to have 24-hour security, not just during the 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And so I would hope that that message gets to the province, and it's my belief that that needs to be there before I would consider anything on security. And there was a question around policing. Do we, because it is private property, I had that question, and I would like that clarified too, although I think I got it clarified this evening, so thank you.
Okay, Councillor Cameron?
To speak on the number 2, if the operational planner staffing, that we get that. It just seems super inefficient to wait for it. If it's something that we already know we want, why would we wait for it and then be like, oh, actually you're only doing 12 hours, but we want 24 hours? Like, it just seems like it's an extra step and we're putting it in. If it's something we already know that we want, we should be upfront with it and say, this is what we want. If we want a fence around it, we should say we want a fence around it. Because if it comes back, it's just like, if it is holding things up in the long run, why are we making it inefficient? I know that the timeline is saying the spring, which is ludicrous, but if we could get things going, why are we just putting extra time in there, extra meetings in there? If we want it, we're in the position now to tell them this is what we want for this use. So why aren't we doing it? Why are we just sitting idly waiting for them to provide us with stuff that they're not even providing us with? So why aren't we taking the upper hand and saying, great, you want it, you're willing to put it there, we all support it, this is what we want from you. We've already asked for things that we haven't gotten, but here's the other things that we want so that it can all move forward. It just doesn't make sense to me to wait for the operational plan if it might not have the information that we want. Just tell them now we want it.
Councillor Adams?
So, Nick, would you be thinking like council approval of safety plan, including 24-hour on-site security with input from police services, like something like that in it? Yeah,
Yeah.
in this motion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
Yeah.
If it's, I mean, that's what we've been
Yeah.
hearing from residents is the
Yes.
biggest thing from them is the security aspect. There was really no one that came to any of the meetings that said, I'm dead against this specific location or this shelter. A lot of the concerns were safety
and
and
security.
feeling safe and feeling secure, especially with vulnerable people living in the area. So I think putting that in just makes sense to eliminate one extra step that we could potentially run into. So why don't we just eliminate it now and put it in?
And in addition, the people that live in that area or work in that area, it's Department of Health, Department of Housing, Department of Seniors, like, they should be able, those departments should be able to work with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like it's a group from the public coming in. It's actually government organizations that should be able to come together and get a security plan in place for their residents.
Yeah.
Councillor Duran?
Just to add on that, I think we've been talking about how security would be beneficial to residents of the area and workers in the area. I think it would be equally as beneficial to the clients and the people that will be using the facility too. So I think it's important to include them in the conditions.
Okay, I've got a bit of a scoring list here. And the word said, so actually, before we do anything next, I thought the first step, based on the conversation that we just had, I'm not going to call yet for a vote on the resolution, but I'd like to get council's, I don't think I have to go to a vote, I think I can just generally get feedback from council to amend the resolution that is here to include at item 3, council approval of safety plan, to include 24-hour security with input from police services. If anyone on council disagrees with amending the proposed resolution, the resolution on the floor to that, just let us all know, and then we can. Okay, yeah, so we can do, okay, we will do that as a friendly amendment. Resolution COS 24-004 now will read, as I mentioned, with the inclusion of the words to include 24-hour security, under the third condition. Is that okay, Gordon?
No, I was just gonna ask if you want to include the fencing wording in there as well?
Yeah.
24-hour security and fencing.
Yes.
I just,
I'd hate to be a broken record, but if they actually came and presented what their plan was, they might already have a fence included, they might have security included, they might have a lot of this stuff we're sitting here arguing about. I just, we can add a whole bunch of restrictions, but we don't know what their plan is, so I really think we've done this process backwards, and I think the province has put us in that position, and it's awful.
Your worship, can we put, where it has, like, that would sort of be under the site plan, but it, on number 1, we have staff approval of the site plan? Would it be staff and council approval of the site plan? Because the site plan would include the fencing.
Yeah, again, open to council if they would have any disagreements with including council there, and really to Councillor Snow's point, to all of your points, there is no question that we're not meeting again with a full and robust understanding and presentation from whoever the operator is going to be, with discussion about site plan, safety and security, and probably a whole bunch of things that we're not talking about as well. Council's looking to potentially impose conditions to require that be approved by council. So that would be, the second amendment to the resolution would be to add council under condition 1 in addition to staff. If the friendly amendment, again, well, everybody's been pretty friendly. Okay, so we have a second amendment to the resolution that's on the floor. Further comments, questions, statements from council before? I think the next step, what we would do is we'll move to a vote on the resolution as amended. Are there any further comments from council? Okay, we have resolution COS 24-004, moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Councillor Gallant, as amended on the floor. So now we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? And just so we have for record, A, Snow, McDougall, all others are ayes. Sorry, I didn't hear. Okay, with a vote of 6-2, the resolution COS 24-004 as amended is carried. Thank you, council, and for having a respectful and thoughtful and courteous discussion. At this point, we move on to resolution COS 24-005. Councillor Adams, Chair for Human Resources, Legal and Communication. No, you're chair of the committee. Sorry, I'm getting so confused. Bylaw Governance and Communications Committee is bringing forward this resolution, and I will hand it over to you, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So resolution COS 24-005, that would be like the year and the 5th resolution of the year. Got it. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Nick Cameron. Whereas council wishes to have guidelines for appointing public members to ad hoc committees and, where applicable, standing committees in an equitable, accountable, and transparent manner. And whereas the Bylaw Governance and Communications Standing Committee has met and provided draft policy for City Council's review at the December 5th, 2023 and January 9th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meetings, be it resolved that policy COS 01, public appointment to committees, be approved. This bears the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole meeting of January 9th, 2024. And this schedule is attached, but I don't have to read all that as we've presented it a few times now.
Thank you, Councillor. So resolution COS 24-005, moved by Councillor Adams, second by Councillor Cameron, is on the floor. So I'll open the floor for any further discussion, debate, questions from members of council. Councillor Adams, I think your light is just still on from before. That's okay. No, that's fine. Okay, so I will call for a vote. All in favor of Resolution ZOS 24-005, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Committee. Oh, I have a bunch of pages to jump through here once. Next item, Resolution COS 24-006, brought forward by Finance Committee and Finance Chair of Representative Finance, Councillor McDougall. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. This next resolution is basically an update to our tax rate group bylaw, and it basically allows us to set a non-commercial rate for non-residents. It's not in our bylaw now, and it's not saying that we're have any plans, but we've noticed that it's not in our grouping, and we need to add that. So in case budget time's coming up, and you just never know. So moved by myself and second by Councillor Barb Gallant, whereas per subsection 162 of the Municipal Government Act, RSPEI 1988, CM 12.1, the City of Summerside is able to establish by bylaw separate tax rate groups for the purpose of raising revenue sufficient to defray projected municipal expenditures. Whereas the City of Summerside, per bylaw CS-5, tax rate groups bylaw, established tax rate groups under Section 8. Whereas the City of Summerside plans to establish a new tax rate for non-commercial assessment for non-residents of Prince Edward Island as an addition under Section 8, therefore be it resolved that Council for the City of Summerside approve the establishment of a new tax rate group for non-commercial assessment of non-residents of Prince Edward Island.
Thank you, Councillor. Resolution COS 24-006, moved by Councillor McDougall, seconded by Councillor Gallant, is on the floor. Any comments, questions, discussion amongst Council? Councillor McDougall, I think your light is, that's okay? Unless you got further things to say. Nope. With that, then, I will call for a vote on Resolution COS 24-006. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Thank you, Councillor.
Going to reports.
We are, yeah. In my effort to save paper, I have electronic stuff in front of me, which is a little bit slower. I can't flip as quickly as possible. So we'll move into department reports, and the representative of Finance, Councillor McDougall, is clearly chomping at the bit to get going. So, Councillor, over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a finance report here. Good evening, my colleagues on City Council and the residents of the business of City of Summerside. Preparation of our 24-25 capital and operating budget is well underway, and Council will begin the deliberations in early February. We expect to present this budget to our businesses, nonprofit organizations, and residents on Tuesday, March 12th at 12 p.m. and vote on the budget on Wednesday, March 27th at 12 p.m. Preliminary financial results for our fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024 are projecting a small consolidated surplus of approximately $104,900. This compares to our budgeted surplus of $5,300. We are preparing for our projection to March 31st, 2024 for our next report. A reminder to nonprofit organizations who were approved for a community support grant for the fiscal year 23-24 to submit their final report, which was due on December 31st. Thank you to those organizations who have submitted by our deadline. Now for an update on the status of our utility accounts receivable. As of January 11th, 2024, the following is being reported. Total overdue balance is $234,100, and this is compared to $191,400 on December 12, 2023. Approximately 10.2%, or $23,958 of the overdue balance is greater than 60 days past due, and this compares to 8.9% of $17,000 on December 12, 2023. Customers who have outstanding balances and have not requested a payment arrangement are strongly encouraged to contact Financial Services at 432-1230. Our collection process continues with overdue notices being generated and mailed to customers. We encourage customers to sign up for our utility customer portal and budget billing program. You can see that on our website and or email us at customerservice@summerside.ca. Thank you for the opportunity to present this report this evening. And if there's any questions, fire away.
Thank you, Councillor. Emergency Services and Communications Representative, Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start it with Police Services. Major Crime Sergeant attended the Major Crimes Investigative Techniques course at the Canadian Police College in Ottawa. It was a 2-week course that focused on current and best practices in relation to investigation of serious criminal offenses. Members are in the process of completing their annual Police Act training. Congratulations to Corporal Logan Waugh. Logan was promoted to the rank of corporal after a recent competition to fill a vacancy. And our sponsored cadets reported in person to the Atlantic Police Academy on January 7th after completing a segment online during the month of October. And these were 2 cadets that were sponsored by Summerside Police Service in the city. Police Service and Human Resources are currently in the midst of recruiting for July and December 2024 intakes at the Atlantic Police Academy. So if there's any questions on that, you can always give a call over and anybody can help you with your questions. Fire services for December, there were 32 calls dispatched. 4 were medical first responder calls, 22 were silent alarms, and 6 were general alarms. Firefighters trained for a total of 193 hours for the month. And also just wanted to make note that we're approaching the coldest days and weeks of 2024, as has been previously mentioned in earlier discussions this meeting. Just want to remind residents about space heaters and smoke detectors working properly, also proper ventilation of heating appliances, and that does include things like dryers, and be prepared for power outages by having flashlights, batteries, and alternative heating sources available. And like always, they say be ready for 72 hours. So, but if there's any questions, our fire services staff or volunteers are always more than willing to help out with any questions that the public has. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Community Services and Tourism Representative, Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Your Worship. Community Service Department report. The past month showcased robust community engagement across our facilities and programs. December saw a remarkable turnout in our aquatics programs. The consistent participation in aquafit classes with 20 to 30 attendees demonstrated a high level of commitment. The December Sensory Swim, while more intimate, welcomed 3 engaging families. Notably, New Year's Eve was vibrant with a bustling pool averaging 70 to 80 swimmers per hour. This active involvement highlighted the diverse appeal of our aquatic offerings within the community. Active Living at Yuletide Village. Active Living's diverse programs during the Yuletide Village festivities were met with enthusiastic community participation. Events such as reindeer games, toy making, candy cane bingo, and the immensely popular cookie decorating sessions resonated well, especially among children. Additional initiatives at the Dome, including kids' crafts and Christmas cookie decorating, further enhanced the holiday spirit, fostering widespread community involvement. In the Dome, throughout December, the Dome remained a hub of activity, hosting numerous parties and witnessing increased sports bookings. There was a notable uptick in interest in outdoor activities like wedge golf. New Year's Eve festivities at the Dome were a resounding success, drawing thousands with entertainment like 12 bouncy castles and face painting. Other facility highlights: the convention room saw 35 bookings along with 12 events at the Oval, comprising of Christmas parties, AGMs, and a craft fair. While most were regular returning groups, we successfully attracted several new groups who opted for our venues this year. Also, at Credit Union Place, they hosted the annual Ed McNeil Memorial Tournament, a significant event that welcomed over 250 players along with their families. This tournament not only brought considerable economic impact to the city, but also fostered a sense of community engagement and sportsmanship. Moreover, the successful Yuletide Village hosted at Veterans Memorial Park was instrumental in bringing the community together to celebrate the holiday season. This event attracted over 8,000 visitors, offering a festive ambience and various activities that created memorable experiences for families and individuals alike. The box office continues to be busy, handling inquiries for the sale of multiple events. December witnessed the sale of tickets for Monster Spectacular and Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance. In addition to events announced in mid to late November, Styx and the Australian Pink Floyd. Furthermore, we hosted Summerside Western Caps games, including a school day game and their New Year's Eve match. The front desk remained busy with the launch of winter swimming lessons, registration inquiries, and the annual Christmas 10 for 10 packs for children. In conclusion, the collective success across our departments and facilities underscores our commitment to providing diverse and engaging experiences for our community. We will continue to build upon this success, offering innovative and inclusive programs to cater to evolving interests while fostering a sense of community and belonging among our residents. And I want to thank Director J.P. DeRozier for that report. And if there's any questions, I'll attempt to answer.
Not a question, just a couple of comments. There was a couple posts that came out today from the city. One was the staff person that we talked about earlier, which I thought was great, with the ice technician. Another one, I think they displayed their new stairs or work that's being done. And when I read through the comments, the number of people that mentioned how well maintained and clean that facility is, and I think Coach of the Caps mentioned like cleanest facility in Canada, and I, being working next door to it, I'm there quite a bit, as you are, Rick, and it definitely, I would probably argue that as well. It's amazing. We're very lucky to have the staff we have. The other one is the dome. So my daughter plays winter softball, and so Saturdays is the winter softball day. The amount of kids that come from, parents that come from around the island to come to Summerside to participate in the winter softball program, spend time at our dome, then probably, most likely, spend money in around the city. That was sort of one of the enticing parts of that dome, and it is a great feature to have in our city, and many places around would be very fortunate to have it. So, yeah, just continued great work from the Community Services Department.
Just, if I may follow up on that, Corey, and I appreciate all those remarks and stuff, and I totally agree, and I think, and it's not because I have anything to do with it, but to me, the facility, and it's an amazing facility regardless, but I believe in my mind it's been cleaner the last year or two than it has ever been in the previous years for whatever reason. So I don't know, it's just a shout out to JP and all his staff for the wonderful job that they do there, and you can see pride of ownership or whatever as soon as you walk in the door of that facility. It's an amazing place, and we're very, city of Summerside and surrounding areas, very fortunate to have it.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Governance, Human Resources, Legal Services Representative, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Your Worship. Department staff have completed the year-end for 2023 and are working on T4s. A second round of advertising is live for police constable sponsorship positions, and application packages may be picked up from the Human Resource Department. Kind of a special one. Jalen Rogers, who is actually my niece, was hired as a part-time employee with Community Services for the Dome. The United Way fundraising campaign is winding down, with a positive result for city employees contributing almost $3,000 for the 2024 year. As part of ongoing staff engagement, the Gingerbread Showdown was held on December 15th. Congratulations to Police Services for winning. They had a by-the-books entry, no extras, and still an amazing result. And then, sadly, a recent retiree, Willie Noy, passed away suddenly last week, so our thoughts and prayers are with his family.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Municipal Services Representative, Councillor Gallant.
I'd like to thank Greg Goody for the report for municipal works. Public Works, water, sewer, utility highlights. Regular salting and snow removal processes are now in focus of the department. The public is reminded that our snow and salting procedures can be found on the city website, and any questions on these procedures and efforts can be called directly to 432-1268. During snow and salting efforts, priorities in winter and roadside maintenance is conducted of potholes that occur with temporary measures of the hot and cold weather during freeze and thaws events. There again, any issues, call 432-1268. Electric utility highlights. The Sunbank project opening ceremony is happening tomorrow on January 16th, 2024 at 2 o'clock at the Credit Union Place Convention Center, with the project tour after the event. Information on the event can be found on the city website. 2023 saw another significant growth in service upgrades and new connections to the electricity utilities. 2023 year finalized at 376, which represents 94% increase in the last 2 years, as 2021 totaled 194 upgrades in the new services. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant. Arts, Culture, and Diversity Representative, Councillor McCollum.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, councillor colleagues, and I'd like to thank Director Lori Ellis for her report to present to the public tonight. The following report captures some highlights of Culture Summerside's activity from the mid-December 2023 to mid-January 2024. The Magic of Christmas exhibit was very well received. It attracted many and generated regular foot traffic through the Lafergie Cultural Center through its duration. Hundreds of school children and teachers were among the visitors. The 3D online version attracted the attention of 37,443 visitors, many of whom took in the online 3D experience at greater depths. Culture Summerside and URSA, Organization for Our Newcomers, presented Celebrate the Season on December the 9th. The culinary and cultural event included international cuisine from Vietnam, the Ukraine, the Philippines, India, Lebanon, and China, Ireland, Germany, and the United States. Also included were tastings of Mi'kmaq and Acadian cuisine. The event was well received by the community and stakeholders involved. The majority of food service providers were from Summerside and many volunteers. Deadlines are being met in grant writing. Applications are being submitted to provincial and federal programs for summer student funding. The Director of Culture Summerside was pleased to have been invited and to have attended the Filipino Community Christmas Party and the Summerside Indian Family Christmas Party. It was a great opportunity to share in celebration, meet new people, and talk about new projects within the city. Culture Summerside staff are preparing for Heritage Week activities, Arts and Culture Awards, Flag Day, and the Summerside Lobster Carnival. Culture Summerside received grant funding from the Community Museums Association in support of our collections management activities and goals. And I just have one public announcement to make through the Summerside Christian Council, and I believe two of the directors are here tonight from Lifehouse. And of course, they have an upcoming major fundraising event, coldest night of the year. Most of us feel helpless to help the homeless as we just went through tonight trying to make arrangements. But the coldest night of the year is a 2.2 to 5 kilometer winterific walk in support of people experiencing hunger, hurt, and homelessness in our community. So I'm just putting out the plug for the coldest night of the year through the Lifehouse Shelter in Summerside, and that is a part of the Boys and Girls Club in Summerside. So very worthy organization that helps many families, women, and children. And in this fundraiser, it's February the 24th, 2024. They're looking for sponsorships, anybody that wants to walk, any donors. And of course, I will just make point of either Lifehouse, you connect the folks there, or if you wanted to go online to cnoy.org, and that will give you a lot of information on the walk itself. And of course, I was speaking with Corey Summers this evening. He's one of the event directors, and his email is Rev Corey Summers, all together, lowercase, @gmail.com. So if you wanted to contact him at Rev Corey Summers @gmail.com, he is one of the event directors, and he could give you information. And I know that it's a very worthy fundraiser. So that concludes my report. If anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Councillor McColman. Technical Services Representative, Councillor Duran.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. We've closed out the 2023 construction season, but a number of private construction projects will continue throughout the winter. Staff are working on the 2024 capital budget items while wrapping up the paperwork from this year's projects. Staff will also start designing our portion of the 2024 capital projects in an effort to have them ready for spring tenders and May construction starts. 11 building permits with a value of just over $2.47 million were issued for the month of December for a year-to-date total of 208 permits and a value of $109.9 million. We issued one commercial permit for an alteration, and on the residential side, we issued permits for 4 semi-detached, 3 accessory buildings, additions or alterations, 2 for sign permits and demolition. We also issued a permit for an 8-unit apartment building. As mentioned, we have surpassed the $109 million mark for 2023. This permit value for the year represents a total of 530 dwelling units. It'll take some time for all these units to be built, but the majority should be available in 2024. Only 41 of these units were for single-family mini homes or semi-detached, so the higher density developments seem to have dominated the permits issued from last year. Developers are stopping in and speaking to staff for assistance with their proposed projects for next year, which is now, I guess, this year. So now is also a great time for our citizens to ask for assistance with their projects that they may have planned for 2024. And thank you to Aaron McDonald, the Director of Technical Services, for preparing the report. If there's any questions, I will attempt to answer them.
I think he's answered them.
And I don't know who won the best sweater of the night, but okay.
We're going to have a vote, and hopefully it's not a tie. Thank you, Councillor Duran. Economic Development and Growth Representative, Deputy Mayor Snow.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to just start by thanking Director Mike Tuska, who compiled the report. The full report will be online. Here's some highlights, though. The following is a brief update from the Office of Economic Development. The first few weeks of January have been busy closing out files, finalizing plans for 2024, and working on furthering our economy. We have finished a comprehensive market analysis used to support local investors, as well as promotional perspectives used to promote Summerside to out-of-province investors wishing to learn more about our diverse economy. The office led and has concluded our GHG benchmarking study and modeling software. The study is a greenhouse gas emissions inventory for the geographic area of Summerside. The report assesses measurement, analyze, and report the emissions from the many sources of GHG, measuring that is fundamental of our local action plan, as it allows the municipality and cities to effectively quantify their emissions. This is essential in the identification of energy-intensive activities and sectors, as well as the determination of action items with the purpose of reducing emissions. The office will later this month be launching our new collaboration with the private sector partners, our labor recruitment campaign. We are excited about the possibilities in partnership with our amazing business community. Last but not least, the office has finalized its budget and tactical plan for 2024 and is preparing for submissions. That is the report from the Economic Development.
Thank you, Councillor Snow. With that, council, we will adjourn our council meeting until the